Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome from Hong Kong. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you all this afternoon, and I'm delighted to be talking about Portugal again. Today is the last chance presentation to get a Portugal Golden Visa through property investment in Lisbon. And today we'll be sharing with you how that can be achieved before July's deadline. It's a pleasure to have with me today Stacey, our investment manager from IP Global. Welcome, Stacey.
Thanks, Grant.
How are you?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good, good.
And also in Dubai, we have Rosie and Rakesh. I'm just going to say your first names because we're on good, friendly terms now after a number of presentations. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's get into the presentation, and then we can work through with Stacey, Rakesh, and Rosie to share the excellent opportunities that we have available, and then also go into the detail for Golden Visa. So first of all, a little bit of background to IP Global, because we've got a lot of people on the presentation today. So very simply, this sums up our business, creating wealth through intelligent property investment. For those of you who don't know us, IP Global is a research-driven end-to-end property investment company. In effect, where possible, we actually underwrite our deals. We actually put our own capital into our projects, and clients like the fact that we have skin in the game for our investments where possible and are aligned with their interests. There's a tremendous amount of research that goes into our projects, and obviously Stacey helps deliver that significantly for IP Global. And then when the client does invest, we manage the buying process from end to end. So we can introduce to lawyers, we can help with lettings of management, we can help with mortgaging, we can also help the client sell the asset too. So a little bit of background to where we are globally. So we're sitting here in Hong Kong today. We also cover the whole of China. We have offices in South Africa and the UK and a number of franchise businesses globally. So we have a real global reach of our business. So in terms of what we've done over the years, I've been in a business since 2006. So I pretty much see most of this property investment over the years. $3 billion we've transacted across 18 countries. So we've got tremendous experience of global markets, and we've transacted on 5,500 units across those 18 markets. Right, so I'm just going to show a little bit of background to Portugal, the wonderful country that it is, that I visited last 15 months ago. So Portugal as a whole, in terms of the economy, like so many places, it's been hit by the pandemic. There's certainly been challenges in the country, and we realise that is the case right now. But the fact is, the fundamentals of the country are very, very strong. They've certainly come a long way since the financial crisis, and lots of measures have been put in place to really provide stability to the country. Indeed, as we go forward into this year and into next year and beyond, we see very, very strong growth cycle for Portugal. And in this world where we have certain, obviously the COVID challenges, I think it's important to recognise that by May, the reports are that a third of the population in Portugal will be vaccinated. And probably by the end of the year, the majority of the population will be vaccinated. And therefore, there is a very strong sense of the market really becoming significantly rebounded as we go through the latter parts of this year. In terms of the property market, again, if we go back to sort of 2008, 2009, 10, the property market was really in pretty much of a terrible mess. There was oversupply, there was lack of regulation, and then fast forward to sort of 10 years plus that, the market is extremely well regulated. Lenders are regulated, lots of measures to make sure that the quality of housing has increased significantly. Developers need a whole series of licenses in place. And the market is very strongly underpinned now from a property perspective. So today we're going to focus on Lisbon. So Lisbon is very much the heartbeat of Portugal. It's the capital city. It's really where everything happens. It's a quarter of the population. It also generates a third of economic activity. It has above average earnings for the whole of the country. And also it really does generate the majority of the GDP. And when I was there, what really surprised me was that the fact is, corporates have big offices there, be it legal firms, tech businesses, finance companies. It's not an outhouse sort of small regional city. It's a thriving metropolis. And really, it's a beautiful city as well. And again, as I say, as we go forward into this year and into next year and the years beyond, although obviously we've seen a contraction through COVID, we see a very strong rebound into the market over the next number of years. So if we just focus on the property side, the thing that you realise when you go to Lisbon is it's a beautiful city, as I mentioned. There's lots of refurbished buildings. It's mainly low rise. It's difficult to get planning permission. There's a lot of property there that is stacked on the hills. So the planning permission rules and regulations are extremely tight. But the clear thing is there's value. There's real value in the city. If you look at the prime areas, you're only looking at about 12,000 euros per square metre at the top end, which is a fraction of most key European cities. Indeed, the average price per square metre is around about sort of 3,900 euros, which is way below cities such as Madrid, Berlin, London, Paris, etc. Now, also in terms of what people like about the market, the property market, is it is freehold. The legal structure is therefore very, very good. It's very, very transparent. We're obviously talking about golden visa today, which is cash purchase. But actually, if you're looking at mortgage financing rates in Portugal are fantastic. We're getting typically rates of 0.8% for our clients. And obviously, when you're talking about yields of 5 to 6%, that's a very, very attractive thing for investors. Okay, at this point, I'm going to pause and hand over to Rakesh, who's going to share his expertise actually on the Golden Visa program and exactly how that works, and really sharing what an attractive opportunity that is. So Rakesh, over to you.
Thank you, Grant. And just to recap, I'm Rakesh, this is Rosalia, we are from Arish Capital, and Arish is primarily a real estate investor and developer, and part of our business has focused on some of the opportunities that have presented themselves within Portugal, and not least the Golden Visa program. So we're now on our sixth development, which involves residential investment that has eligibility for the Golden Visa program. And we actually particularly specialize in Golden Visa investments that are in the 350,000 investment threshold. And I'll come on to talk about that in a second. Just some metrics about the Golden Visa program itself. Probably many of you heard about it. And I think this slide sets out quite well the proof of concept, if you like. The Golden Visa program was announced in Portugal in 2012. And since then, it's been a huge success. It's had over 20,000 residency permits issued. So again, going to that point about proof of concept. And that includes both main applicants and their reunified family members, which overall has attracted in excess of 5 billion of investment into Portugal. Now, if we go to the next slide, the reason why this presentation is referring to the last call for Lisbon is really because the Portuguese Golden Visa program has been hugely successful, as we've just mentioned, but there are changes afoot which are looking to come into effect from the 1st of July of this year. And the idea behind those changes, although much of the detail is still awaited, the idea behind those changes are that Lisbon and Porto would be excluded from the Golden Visa program, meaning that you wouldn't be able to have a city centre investment within either Lisbon or Porto, which also had the added benefit of being Golden Visa eligible. So here on this slide, we're calling it the limited opportunity. Limited opportunity, why? Because these changes have been rumoured for such a long time. The announcement came out at the end of December last year, which basically said that from 1 July, the Golden Visa program will be changed. The idea behind those changes is that Lisbon and Porto will be excluded, and therefore there is now a limited opportunity between now and that date of the 1st of July for people to become invested into a city centre location such as Lisbon and Porto, but also give them sufficient enough time to effectively start processing their Golden Visa related documentation. So from a pure practical perspective, what we are saying to people is if you are looking to invest into Portugal and you want to be in a city centre, then you should probably make that investment by no later than the end of March. And then when you take into account the end of March and the path dependencies based from there on your Golden Visa application, you would still have enough time, i.e. 3 months, to make your Golden Visa application before the change of law takes effect. So there's lots of detail that's probably still going to be coming out, but I think the key point to remember is 1 July is the deadline. And for those that want to invest in city centres, it's to do it before March. If you want to invest after July, you can indeed do so because the Golden Visa program will continue. It's just that you will highly unlikely be able to be invested in a city centre. So if we move to the next slide, Sylvia. This is just a quick comparison of many of the European offerings you've probably heard that are offering residency and or citizenship programs. And typically, what happens is with many of these programs, the devil is always in the detail. And I think the biggest thing that we found with Portugal is that, and I think that goes to its popularity as well, is that they've managed to find a balancing point, between the investment value, which is now 350,000 euros, but also with the conditions that are attached to becoming eligible for your Golden Visa as an individual. Some of these countries require you to actually live in the country, whereas Portugal doesn't. And therefore, if you go to the next slide, we've highlighted here the fact that in terms of the key requirements, you can see as long as you have a valid passport, a clean criminal record, proof of the investment amount, you basically should be able to qualify for the Golden Visa. The big thing is you only have to stay 7 days a year for the next 5 years, which is very different to some of the other programs such as Greece, etc., which actually require you to live in the country. And then the other things to keep in mind, because I think this is always something that people think about perhaps as the second point of analysis, is that the Portuguese program is actually quite a generous program in that you can reunify your family members, which means your spouse, your dependent children, and indeed your parents and in-laws if you wanted to. So it's quite a generous scheme. And then the other thing is that just by becoming a resident of Portugal, we get this question all the time, does it mean that I'm going to have all of my income if I live in X country and I become a resident of Portugal? Does it mean that all of my income is going to be taxed in Portugal? And the answer to that is no. There is no concept of worldwide taxation in Portugal, and therefore your foreign source income won't be taxed in Portugal just by virtue of becoming a resident. Again, it's a key factor when you're comparing all of the different programs. We go to the next slide. I think this is another key factor in going towards Portugal's popularity in terms of choice of program, is that at the end of the 5 years, once you've fully qualified for your Golden Visa, most investors have a choice, and this choice is important for certain nationalities. The choice is either you move to what we call a permanent residency status, which basically means that you are now a resident of Portugal and have access to the EU in general, or you actually convert your Golden Visa into citizenship, i.e. passport. And there is a choice there, and the reason why that choice is important is because some nationalities, when they're from their overseas countries, do not allow for dual passports, and therefore Portugal again offers you this flexibility. So look, there's quite a bit of detail there on the Golden Visa program. No doubt many of you will have any number of questions in terms of how the program might work from a practical perspective. We're happy to take those up after. But why don't I now hand you over to Rosalia, and she can talk you through our most recent development in Lisbon. It's in the heart of Lisbon city centre, and it is indeed Golden Visa eligible.
Thank you, Rag. So thank you everyone for being with us today, and also thank you to IPG for coordinating the event and inviting us. Always a pleasure to be with you. It was actually not long ago that we were together also for the presentation of the previous project, Visa Gardens, that is now sold out. And today we are very glad to introduce our new project in central Lisbon. It is a refurbishment project that, as Rag mentioned, is eligible for the Golden Visa on the reduced scheme of 350,000 euros. And is actually very iconic and a representative development, refurbishment. It has only 15 units, and all of them are individually styled. There is units from studios to 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, and all very high quality finishes, and in the legal form of freehold and full ownership. As boutique and exclusive as the project is, it still enjoys the convenience of having on-site facilities, such as the on-site gym, the co-working space, and the outdoors patio. So we will be showing very soon a video of the project that will show you the different typology and images. But before that, I would like to actually zoom a little bit into the location of the project. After all, we know that any real estate investment is all about location. So Campo de Rique quarters, it's located in the neighborhood that gives it the name, that is Campo de Rique. This is one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the entire Lisbon, and it's totally as desirable that we have the presidential house, many of the embassies like the British embassy, and even the parliament, only by a few minutes walking. In the slide here, you see the major square and avenue of the city. This is Marqués Pombal and Avenida Libertad. Comparable for those that are more familiarized with France with the Champs-Élysées. It's the street that has the trendiest restaurants, luxury hotels, these top brands that you see in the image, like Cartier, Prada, Louis Vuitton. And it's only 1.2 kilometers away from the project. So it's a nice 15 minutes walk. So if we look at the business, Lisbon business-wise, there is a total of 6 business districts. Only 2 of them have the consideration of central business districts, CBD1 and CBD2. When you look at the image, CDOQ is right in the middle of CBD2. So it's walking distance to companies like Microsoft, BNP Paribas, Volkswagen, Accenture, McKinsey, and a long list of international companies. It is also only 2 metro stations, direct line, to CBD1. This is Saldanha Metro Station. And probably because of this strategic location, and also because the beauty of the neighborhood and the wonderful lifestyle that it offers, is not only home for the politicians and diplomats, like we were saying before, but also for many affluent expat and local families. And also it's very, very popular amongst the young professionals. And evidence of this is that in Campo Rique, you find 3 of the top international schools in Lisbon. This is the French, the General International, and also the British School. This is the metro plan of Lisbon. We are located just a couple of minutes away from Rato Metro Station. There is only 1 station from Marqués Pombal, the major square I mentioned before. It is 2 metro stations from CBD1, as we said, Saldanha, but it's also only 6 metro stations from the university city. This is around 20 minutes door to door. With regards to the airport, it would take around 45 minutes to reach the international airport, which is actually very, very convenient. And one more thing that actually is quite relevant with regards to the metro is that at the moment there is an undergoing expansion project of the Lisbon metro lines with about 80 million euros European budget. That is one of the major things that it will happen is that the yellow line will join the green one. So Rato will have access, Campo Rique, in around 5 to 6 minutes to the Riviera and the Marina. So, of course, for those that are looking for an extra capital appreciation, Campo Urique is the place to look at. Now, to fully demonstrate and summarize all these concepts of centrality, we have these slides where position CDOQ right in the middle of every possible market. So we have the university that, of course, will attract the postgrades, master, professors. We have the business district that will attract all the young professionals. We have government and embassies with diplomats, politicians, of course, tourists. And then we have the international schools and all the entertainment that we mentioned that will attract all the expat families and affluent local families. So what is actually very rare to find. So we have access to the 5 main possible rental markets. And this actually is what for us is quite relevant. When you look at investing in real estate, I think that any of us would look into the rental yield and into the exit liquidity. And for us, this slide kind of demonstrate how easy it is for Campo Urique quarters. Now, without further delay, let me just get to share the video. But before that, I would like to just highlight a few points about the project. If we pass to next slide, Sylvia, please. Thank you. So when we look at the CDOQ, it has a total of 15 units. We mentioned there is 4 types of units: the patio studios, the rooftop studios, the 2-bedroom units, and the 1-bedroom duplex. The ones that you see at the moment are the rooftop studios. If we pass the page, these are the duplex 1-bedroom. Next one, I believe, are the patio studios. And as the last one, we will have the 2-bedroom. In the video, we will see a little bit more on this, but just to mention that we have the prices range from 350,000 euros up to 704,000 euros on the largest units. These ones will be eligible for 2 family or 2 main applicants to be for the golden visa. This could be 2 sisters or brothers, father and daughter, etc. So it gives 2 families the eligibility. And the properties are handed over fully fitted and with the kitchen appliances. And of course, for those that want full conveniency, we have an optional furniture pack. And this is with absolutely every item of furniture that you can think of to rent it next day, and it's a price from 10,000 to 15,000 euros. And we do also offer rental and property management through our trusted local partner. So with all this learned, thank you very much for everyone for your interest. I'm going to play now the video and then pass over to Stacey thereafter. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Rosie. Super video, and myself and Stacey were just sitting here reminiscing about Lisbon and what a wonderful city it is. Super city, absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
I know. Thinking about the sardines, the beach.
Yes, the wine.
Yeah. The great weather.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we'll get back to the investment case now, and obviously share a little bit more of that emotional side in a sec. But yeah, let me hand over to Stacey now, and she'll share details of our project, the Bella Vista, which is in a super location in Lisbon. I think about Hong Kong, it might be somewhere like Repulse Bay or something, actually, but closer to the city centre. Really good location. We've both been there. I know we've talked about it before, but we can never get fed up about talking about it. So let me just stop for a second. I'll hand over to
About to
Stacey.
steal my thunder there, Grant.
Yes, I don't want to do that.
Before we even start.
So over to you, Stacey.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Grant, and thanks, Rakesh and Rosie. As we said, Grant and I were saying that video is absolutely incredible and just makes us want to jump on a plane if we could and get back to Lisbon and to Portugal, sure. Right? Yeah. So yeah, as Rakesh mentioned, the 350k visa, golden visa, there is also the option of the 500k visa, which we have an offering of at IP Global at the moment. So Bella Vista, a scheme that we have previously launched. We have only 5 units left in it at the moment. There is a total of 35 in the entire development. IPG just took 14 of those 35, and the rest were sold by the developer on the local market in Lisbon. Very, very popular. They sold very well, and it's always a good sign to know, if units and developments sell well in the local market. It gives you comfort that it's selling at the right price point, and that it really is a location where people want to live, especially if you're investing for buying for investment. You want to make sure there's that rental demand there. So a bit different to the previous one. This is a completely new build development. It's in an area called Graça, which is just to the east of Lisbon. I will talk about the area in a little bit more detail in the next slide. Completion is actually coming up this month. When I last spoke to the developer, there were just a few last fittings that they were waiting to be delivered, and then the units were ready to be signed off for practical completion. So that's always great. I mean, great for the golden visa, which means you can start the process now, as Rakesh saying, that is that deadline on the 1st of July, but also fantastic for investors. There's always, obviously, in the back of your mind when you invest in property, there's that development risk, right? Is the developer is he gonna build it, especially with COVID now? How long is it gonna take? And this is, it's built, it's there. You can see what the end product you are buying exactly looks like, and I can say it is absolutely fantastic. It's come out, as they've said in the CGIs, the specification is top notch, solid wood floorings, and just beautifully done sort of interiors and finishes. We do, just talking a bit about the units that we have left. So you can't really see here, but I'll show you when we get to the next slide. This development's actually built on a hill. So the front units, which you can see in that image there, actually look over Lisbon city centre to sort of the right, and to the left, you're looking over the river and the water there, the River Tagus. So absolutely stunning views from this development. And as you can see, there are 3 units that we currently have available. 2 of them are 2 beds, which qualify for the golden visa, and 1 is a 1 bed. And I mean, beautiful open plan kitchens, sliding doors that open onto terraces that you can look out and sort of enjoy those views. And beautifully quiet and traditional neighborhood, also away from sort of the hustle and bustle of tourism in the city centre, but again, just within a couple of minute walk to all the amenities you sort of need. I think, as you mentioned, Grant, earlier, it is a little bit further out, but still easily accessible. Yeah. It's, I would say, going there, it's a very good combination of old and new Lisbon. They've still got like the windy streets, the cobbled roads, which give you that really old school Lisbon feel. But then you've got, your coffee shops, your cafes, your restaurants sort of right on your doorstep too, if you want those also good for tenants.
But of course, you've got the underground parking there as well, so it's great
Yes.
just to drive into the city. And then I took the train actually from the centre of town. It was one stop, and then that little walk up the hill.
Yes, keeps you fit.
Yeah, it does. It does, and you've got the quaint village there, and then obviously those amazing views from those balconies towards the River Tagus.
Yes,
which is really wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean you're away from sort of the crowds. You know, Lisbon, we all know, is a big tourist city, so you are sort of away from them.
Yes.
But sort of very easy accessible. So these are just a few construction update pictures. I won't spend too long on these. As I said, solid wood flooring and almost complete. Just a few of those appliances still to be fitted, and you can see their beautiful residence garden. They're going to make like sort of a veggie patch that residents can get involved in, and grow their own veggies or plants as they wish. So beautiful, and overlooking the city centre there. And then just moving on to the next slide. Location wise, so just to the east of the city centre, you can see there, as I mentioned, we are built into a hill. So you've got to the right there, the bottom right picture. These were actually pictures I took while I stood on site. That's why you can see a bit of the construction in the photos, so they're real. And to the right there, you can see Lisbon city centre, and then the river there, and then to the left also you can see almost sort of a panoramic view of the water, which is absolutely stunning. Also stunning sunrises, and just a really quiet location. But again, if we look at sort of the travel times there, you're a 25-minute walk into Baixo and Chiado. Rosie, I'm probably saying those wrong, but that's sort of, I would say your high street. So high street shopping, you've got a lot of bars and restaurants, a lot of new modern cafes popping up there. So you're a place where people want to be. And then just above there, again, probably not going to pronounce it right, Avenue Liberdade, otherwise known as the Champs-Élysées.
You pronounced that correctly.
In Lisbon. So that also just sort of a 20-minute walk away. And as Rosie alluded to in her last couple of slides, a massive employment hub along there. It's got all your high-end brands, Gucci's, that sort of Chanel's, massive shopping district there, and some of the most expensive real estate in Lisbon, just within sort of a 20-minute walk. And again, just sort of flicking through a few of these, you can see the beautiful views out to your right there. You've got a balcony, open plan living. If we just flick to the next slide, just bedrooms there. You can see beautiful solid wood flooring. And there again, this is actually sort of a replica of what one of our one beds would look like. The one mentioned in the previous slide. So you've got, that balcony that opens up from the living and the dining area, as well as the bedroom. So it just makes the space even bigger, even lighter. And I mean, sort of, post-COVID living, this is exactly where people want to be. Just the foyer. And again, just sort of a few CGIs to show the units, which are really beautiful. And now, I think that's me. I don't know if we want to move on to questions. I think two fantastic opportunities for the Golden Visa. As Rakesh shared, it is obviously the time now, if you're thinking about it, if you want to get in the city centre. I think one of the things that we've discussed previously is, these properties, you can obviously use them as investment properties too, but if you need to visit there 7 days a year, you might want to stay in them. People are going to rather want to stay in these city centre locations when they visit Lisbon or Porto. And then also just for sort of an investment on the side, you want to be having these investments that are well located, that are in city centres, that are in well-known cities in Portugal, to make the most of it, which I think, so now is definitely sort of the time to get into it before they take Lisbon and Porto off the list. Yeah,
absolutely agree. And really good overview of that project that we know and love. And from yourself, Rosie, in terms of that excellent project that Arish have presented in Lisbon as well, very, very impressive. Rakesh, thank you for the really insightful overview of the Golden Visa opportunity in Portugal, and really how it is a standout from all those other countries that you mentioned on that earlier slide. Well, we have got a number of questions that have been coming through. So let me just have a quick look here. I'm just going to pick out one or two, and apologies, we probably won't be able to answer all these questions, but we will come back to you. One here, can the golden visa be applied after 1st of July if the full investment has been made before the 1st of July? So maybe I'll ask Rakesh to answer that one.
Yeah, sure. And I think I mentioned that as part of the changes that were announced in December, the one thing that we did learn for sure is the 1 July date. So it's good that we sort of all follow that date. And we are awaiting further details. Now, I think the wording as it currently stands is that the investment should be made by at least the 1st of July. And therefore, to answer the question, technically you could continue with your application provided the investment has been made. However, the reason that we were giving practical advice is because we feel you could do both before the 1st of July. And if you're motivated to become invested and do your golden visa, and you can do that before the 1st of July, I think the sensible advice is you should. And therefore, what we were suggesting as a timeline, taking into account the connectivity between the investment and the application for golden visa purposes, was to become invested by no later than the end of March, and then give yourself that period of April, May, and June, which is 3 months, which is a typical time frame to become applied into the immigration process and get your pre-approval before the 1st of July. So I think, yes, technically you can make the investment on the 30th of June and then still apply for your golden visa. But I think the better way perhaps to approach this, given that you do have enough time, is to become invested by the end of March, allowing you to also do your golden visa application before 1 July.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's all very clear. There's another question here. Is the golden visa given immediately the investment is made? Does it give the right to travel around the EU immediately, or does one has to wait for 5 years? Maybe that's another one for Rakesh.
Yeah, and just to outline it very quickly, the golden visa application is actually a two-step process. It's actually firstly a remote online process, which the lawyer in Portugal does entirely without a buyer, international buyer, having to visit Portugal. And that's the bit that I was referring to that can be done and get a pre-approval before July 1st. So that's step one. And once you have that pre-approval, there's a second step which you need, which will tend to take about 3 to 6 months, after which you get your golden visa residency card. However, by the time you've got your pre-approval, you are still able to sort of freely travel within the EU using the Schengen sort of access ways. And then obviously by the time you get your card, you can do that as well.
Great, okay, that's all very clear. Next question, can these units be rented on a short-term basis, such as Airbnb or long-term lets? I'll ask that to Stacey and Rosie. So Rosie, maybe you want to answer that first, and then I'll ask Stacey the same question.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. So yes, actually, CDOQ location is in Capurica is not restricted for the short-term rental, so that would be allowed. And it's actually quite easy process, and it's not only allowed, but also it's very easy to rent for tourists because we saw the proximity to the city center, and it carries tax benefits because it does actually have, for those doing Airbnb rather than the long-term rental, they have a much lower tax rate on the rental income than if they were doing the long-term.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, similar answer to Bella Vista. I think also just one of the things maybe I see a question there and I'm just going to add onto it is, what are the rental yields? So for Bella Vista, you're looking probably long-term yields at about 4.5%. And I mean, as you mentioned earlier, we've got partners that obviously help with that sort of, renting out, whether you want to do it on a long-term basis and not stay there, or if you want to do it on a short-term basis as well. So that's all taken care of from you, and I believe it's the same. Rosie, you were mentioning also for yours that you also have partners that would rent it out if need be.
Correct. Thank you.
Great. Okay. And another question here: can I refinance my property at some point, or can I sell my property once obviously passport citizenship has been achieved. So Rakesh, maybe you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. So as we mentioned, the golden visa qualifying period is in fact 5 years. So technically, once you've passed that 5-year stage, you can indeed sell your property. However, as I mentioned, at the end of the 5 years, investors will have a choice whether they want to convert their golden visa into a permanent residency card or indeed a passport. So you have that choice, and that choice, whichever one you take, tends to take about 6 to 8 months until you actually physically either get your permanent residency card or indeed your passport. I think technically you can sell your property after the 5 years, strictly speaking. But again, from a pure practical perspective, we advise people not to do so until you've achieved that second part of the journey, which is either getting your permanent residency or indeed your passport. Okay,
fantastic. Another question here. Are there any guarantees provided in the case of the GV application isn't successful?
Yes, from our perspective, from Irish's perspective, we have within our contracts a clause which effectively allows the buyer to return the property to us in return for the full amount paid. If there is a denial by CEF, CEF is the immigration authorities, if there's a denial by CEF for the golden visa, if it is a reason due to the property itself. And so that would mean that because these projects are quite difficult to find, these 350,000 renovation projects, we spend a lot of time with the architects, municipality, ensuring that they do qualify and meet all the conditions, and therefore we're happy to underwrite that risk if CEF turns around and says, no, this isn't eligible. However, that wouldn't cover a scenario, just so we're clear, that if CEF turns down the golden visa application because of something to do with the individual applying, for whatever reason that might be.
Okay, that's fine. And then obviously on the Bella Vista side.
Yeah, so it's a bit different there for the 500K, as Rakesh mentioned. Like the 300K visa is a lot more detailed. We always say to people, if you go that route, make sure you work with people who know what they're doing, people who've done it before. And that's obviously why we work with Irish Capital. They've done it before, they have a track record, because it is a lot more you have to select the right properties and they have to qualify for that. Whereas with the 500K visa, it's purely the 500K investment, right? So the only reason you really wouldn't get it is some personal reason, maybe you have a criminal record, hopefully not. But so there's really no development risk or property risk with getting the gold visa with the 500K one.
And of course, with Bella Vista being completed, there's no developer risk from that perspective, because it's pretty much all done now, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Another popular question here. We've got a lot of people holding UK passports. Subsequent to Brexit, can I now apply as a UK passport holder for golden visa? Maybe Rakesh, you want to answer that one?
Yes, so it's a popular question on this webinar, but also in the last couple of months. Obviously, Brexit has now happened, and the answer to the question is yes. British nationals are able to now take advantage of the golden visa scheme in the way that they perhaps weren't previously, whilst Britain was within the EU. And they're treated now as much as any other country would be outside of the EU in terms of the application process, the investment process, etc. It's exactly the same. And indeed, we've had people that have gone through that very process in the last couple of weeks.
Great. Okay, that's going to please a lot of people.
Yes.
They can apply for that. And there's another question here in terms of if I sell the property one day, so in effect I'm buying the property to get the golden visa as an investment vehicle, and then one day I sell the property to buy another property in Portugal that maybe I'll live in long term. Is there any reduction in capital gains tax at all? I'm not sure if you know the answer to that or not, Rakesh, but I'm going to throw that one over to you.
Yeah, I think that under current law, at least, when you sell your golden visa related property after that 5-year qualifying period, there are some tax benefits in terms of non-residents. In terms of the tax rate in Portugal for capital gains is 28%. There may be a reduction to that 28%. In terms of whether there's any reinvestment type of relief, I would need to double check that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Right. Okay, that's great. Thank you. There is a number more questions coming through, but I think in the interest of time, perhaps.
I was going to say, should we just? There's one there that I actually see now, which probably covers the lawyer and the legal paperwork as well as the lettings company. So,
sure.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Rosie or Rakesh, but obviously from both developments, we can take care of the entire process. So, you know, if you decide to buy either one of the properties, we have recommended solicitors that will take care of the process. Obviously, the golden visa process will be taken care of. And then once it's completed and, you know, ready to be tenanted out, again, as I mentioned, there are preferred and recommended lettings and management companies that we deal with and we put clients in contact with. So, and again, also sort of if we ever want to refinance later on, there's those recommendations that we have. So, you know, because you aren't in Portugal, you aren't in Lisbon, we can sort of take all that off your hands and take care of it for you.
Yeah, very good point. I actually got ahead of myself. We've actually got a couple more minutes, so we're fine just to roll on a bit more. But I think that's a really important point. I mean, the fact that obviously on our side and obviously Irish Capital, they have the infrastructure to manage the whole process in terms of the property buying process, and obviously a successful track record in getting golden visa through for many clients over the years. So let's just scroll through a couple more questions here. Maybe I'll just throw this one over to Rosie. How many units per floor in CDOC, Rosie?
So actually the project is 2 buildings. So it has building A and building B, and you saw that probably in the visuals of the video, but we are happy to then individually share the details with whoever is interested. Building B has 5 duplexes, and building A has 2 units per floor.
Great.
And a total of 4 floors. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Stacey, you want to answer that question?
Yes. Bella Vista is a bit different actually, because it is built on a hill. The one side only has, well, it has sort of 3 stories, you could say, and then the other side goes down to -2. So you're looking at 6 stories in total. But obviously, I mean, even when you go down to -2, -1, on sort of the other side of the building, all of those units have views of the city and of the water, because it's sort of built into that hill.
Yeah, great. Okay. And then in terms of rental guarantees, is there any rental guarantees on these projects? So Rosie, maybe you want to go first on that one, and then I'll throw that question over to Stacey.
Okay, so for us in the project, we don't offer a rental guarantee. We see that the centrality of the project probably does not require such a thing. We have the all profiles that I described during the presentation that would be very interested into renting, and most important is that it is in terms of the net income that the investor will receive. There is a big difference. When the rental guarantee is considered a long-term rental, there is 28 tax paid on that income. When the rental is provided by the short-term rental directly, it goes down to below 12%. So overall, the net income is really in the favor of the investor when they work directly with the property manager. Now, what we do, and we do that in all our projects, is that for convenience of the investors, we introduce the property manager, and they take care of absolutely everything. So they take care of the management, the cleaning, the marketing, the check-in, the checkout. And actually they're wonderful companies, feels like home. We partner with them in all our projects. And they have a system that is very informative. So the investor will be able at any point of time on the phone to check if the property is rented, who is renting, what is the amount they receive, etc. So it's quite transparent and updated information to them.
Yeah. Okay, great. Stacey.
Yeah, I mean, we say we are not offering a rental guarantee At the moment, we do believe that it's in a location that would be very desirable for renters. And yeah, as I mentioned before, they do have that main element of local Portuguese buying there, living there. So it is an area that is very popular and a residential area. And also with sort of our management company, we work with them, before the building's complete. They sort of go in, they have a look at the units, they get access to it before it actually sort of, completes and gets the deed registered. So they can start putting out adverts, telling clients about it and getting that interest going. So when the deed is registered, clients can get tenants in straight away.
Yeah, and it, it really is one of the mainstays of our business, the fact that at the outset we're looking at the pricing, making sure it's well priced, and obviously making sure that there is a strong rental market in that area. So
yeah, and I think a lot of the time when rental guarantees are offered, I mean they're sort of all over the market at the moment, but they do get priced into the price of the apartment. Often, because obviously someone needs to cover it, right?
Yes.
And no one's going to take that cost. It ends up coming out of the cost of the apartment. So yeah, I mean we only invest in places that we think there is that rental demand. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so one final question here. Do you need to speak Portuguese to apply? If you do, that rules me out. So,
there is to apply, no, but actually at the end of the 5 years, once you've qualified under the Golden Visa scheme, I said you have to make this choice about either going for permanent residency or moving to a passport. At that point, i.e. in 5 years' time, there is a simple Portuguese language test. And just so that I can give you the context of what is simple, it starts at European language level, start at A1, A2, A3 being the most basic, and they go all the way to C1, C2, C3. So this is A2 level. So really it's your pleases and thank yous and good morning and da-da-da. So very simple test, and everyone that we know that have taken the test have passed it. So
yeah, I think even I'll get through that, I think.
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so that's really brought us to the end of the webinar today. As I say, I think that was hopefully very, very informative for you all, just really emphasizing the fact that, it is a great place to invest, Portugal, Lisbon in particularly, that it is a very strong investment case for property, as explained by Rosie and Stacey here. And also when we're looking at the Golden Visa, and as highlighted by Rakesh, you can clearly see that it's a valuable passport, citizenship to have, and has many benefits in terms of tax, getting across the EU, and residing in Portugal first and foremost as a wonderful country. There are lots more questions coming through, going into sort of specific details on units and plans, etc. And we will answer all those questions. As Rakesh said, the window is closing. It is July that it will close, but decisions need to be made really sort of roundabout by March time. So do keep the questions coming. I can then forward them over to Arish, and obviously from our side we can pick up those points and questions that are coming through on the Bella Vista project and the notes of interest there. But just to say, Rakesh, Rosie, thank you very much for joining again today. It's been great to be with you. And Stacey, thanks again for joining here. It's been a really enjoyable presentation. Thanks for all your diligence and work today. Thank you. So yeah, so thank you everyone for attending. As I say, I hope that was very insightful for you, and we will all see you again. And as I say, keep the questions coming in and we will answer them in due course. But from myself, Stacey, Rakesh and Rosie, thanks again for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.